Well, here we are, round one of Oulton Park. Just getting ready to go out for qualifying. 15-minute open qualifying for all of these cars. Draft is definitely going to be a big play here. Oulton Park with no chicanes, so people are definitely trying to find a gap to where they just have enough slipstream, but they're not impeded by another car. There's a lot of games going on. It'll be interesting who comes out on top. See one of the Ronin cars dropping back. Right, just getting ready to start their first timed lap here at Oulton Park. Quite an interesting track with the no chicanes. We do, like, there is still a lot for the drivers to wring out of these MX5s, particularly turn one, where you can sail it in, but you do have to watch the off tracks. It's not a concern in the race, but it is a big factor in qualifying, where the lap does have to be clean to count. So it is tricky for these drivers to negotiate. Let's take a look here at one of the interesting cars that we expect to be a factor, the 419. Let's watch his first lap as we ride on board. He's towing directly behind the 76. Let's see how successful he is with that. Another car of interest is the 99 of Brandon Hawken. He's led a lot of the practice sessions so far with his SRC Movano Corsa machine, and we expect him to be certainly in the top 5 here for qualifying. So we'll see what happens shortly. Expect times to come up now. Pablo Espes, first time on the board with a 42.0. Petresky following with a 42.4, 4/10 off. Right, just starting to complete their first time laps. Certainly close at the front now that a few times have rolled in. The top 3 separated only by 1/10 of a second, and then the top 6 only by 8/10, with 9 minutes still remaining, so it's all to happen yet. We have 9 minutes remaining, and Pablo Espes has just put in another time. So he's only 1/1000th off of Cooper in the 19. Very, very close qualifying despite open setups. There's no fixed setups here. Just the quality at the front of the pack is still very strong. And and down the pack, might I add, is still very tight, all the way down to P13th, only 1.2 seconds, and it's the gap from position to position is only a few hundredths. Like we have Lee Martin in P12. Here he is. Looks like he's on another timed lap. Let's ride on board and see how it progresses. He's on the back straight now at Hilltop. He's going to approach Knickerbrook. Is a fourth, maybe third gear corner. If he wants to drop down to try to get the punch out. Snags the apex. The right front goes in the air just for a moment, and then he plants the throttle hard. He's got a distant tow from the car in front that will help him slightly. He comes through Druids now. Just one corner to go. The tires are screaming at this point. He just needs to hang on for one more corner to see how the lap finishes. Snags the apex beautifully. Really good into the lap here from Lee Martin. Let's see where he comes, if this promotes him higher up on the standings. It's a 43-1, so it does give him one spot. So I am John Vining, one of your broadcasters. I'm gonna introduce you to another who's very well known in the sim racing community, Jake Sperry. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, John. We sit at the opening round here of the championship. 4 races, or 8 races, so to speak, 4 rounds to deal with. The first of which is Oulton Park, the international layout, no chicanes available, and with 6 minutes and 55 seconds left in qualifying. This all about getting your best lap forward, and open qualifying is going to be one of the most important things to keep in mind. It's going to mean that all these drivers can be out on circuit at the same time, putting in as many laps as they possibly can through these 15 minutes. Jason Cooper, currently 3rd fastest at the moment, and just a couple of tenths of a second short of Pablo Espes, who leads outright in the number 11 machine at this moment in time. The chase that is going to be on right now from the likes of some very established names, Brandon Hawkin up there, Lars Fischer doing a good job as well in qualifying trim as well. This is going to be about getting all of the pace early to run forward and to score as much as possible in these early stages. The opening round going to be so crucial, as now the run up the hill will come along from the group. Filip Matrevsky down in 14th position, or the number 14 down in 6th position, I should say, at this point. Finds himself on a 142.2 at this moment, 4 tenths of a second, splitting the top 6 who have looked like to be the quickest at the moment. John, you've been keeping an eye on the early stages of qualifying. What's been the biggest takeaway from these initial stages?
Well, the biggest thing I've seen so far is all of the games drivers are playing with each other to find the tows, which must be worth at least 3-4 tenths of a second. We see it happening here with Matrevsky in the 14 and the 11 of Pablo Espes. 2 guys fighting for pole position, playing games now to try to get draft off each other. Matrevsky wouldn't let it happen, so Pablo just said, fine, I'll finally go and I'll make my own way. Because there's only 5 minutes left, so it is crunch time for these guys to get that last lap in.
We talk about draft being so important. You can gain upwards of a second a lap on the draft at certain circuits. So to be in range of a driver in front, you'd say that Oulton Park here, a traditional, a natural British circuit, what you'd call I would say a national-based track, is not going to be as draft-dependent as, say, an international-based track would be in these Global Mazda MX5s. So it's going to make life very difficult. So about half a second, maybe only 3 tenths of a second, but every tenth will matter at the pointy end of qualifying at this point. A big off then for Enzo Sampaio, and that then is going to put 415 back into the pits. We'll have enough time to reset and get back out on circuit then, get things back going again, as Jackson Rosenda is now going to try and make some progress up the order, at least for the time being. Jackson's been trying to jump up. He's currently 7th fastest at this moment in time and is looking for just a little bit more in the TXC by Tony Kanaan car, making that run up the hill, looking towards the start-finish line and hoping that there's going to be improvement on a 42.4. It's a 42.6, maybe helping out Felipe Spetronev, who is there just behind, who moved up on a 42.7 in the number 52 machine, as Gabriel Ardelier will now jump up into 7th place.
Yeah, just 3.5 minutes to go now. The field continuing to tighten. The top 12 only separated by a second, and only 0.3 separating the top 5. As Jason Cooper now goes P1 with a 41.477, just 14 thousandths clear of Pablo Espes.
And Pablo Espes actually set his fastest time over that last lap. They were shadowing each other. I think Cooper just had enough on Pablo Espes as they were both running pretty much in tandem. Espes has just dropped away with 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Open qualifying does also have one big boon and opportunity, and that is that you have the opportunity to finish any lap you start. Very different to what is a closed qualifying, where once the timer reaches a certain point, you have to finish your lap within that time. Otherwise, there is going to be no times up there. Brandon Hawkin has dropped down to 3rd position now on a 41.9. We were talking about half a second. He was only a 10th behind on those qualifying laps just a couple minutes ago here. And you can see how the racing dynamic track comes into play. All of that gravel kicked up on the inside of the Lakeside turn, heading to the Shell Oils corner. But for Brandon Hawkin, all of a sudden, no drafting, you're down half a second.
Yeah, his first sector was a 28.34, which is very quick. It was very competitive between the top 3, but he had a slow sector 2 and 3, so this lap is burned, and I think he will not have time to finish the next lap. So this should be it for Brandon Hawkins qualifying today at Oulton Park.
Yeah, and qualifying crucial. Of course, we are talking about 2 races over the course of today, John. Of course, this first race going off of qualifying, and they have to go through this heat. And crucially, when they get to the end, as Spetronev is down into the pits right now and probably won't get a qualifying lap time out there, it's crucial that that second race is a full invert.
Yes, yeah. We have a reverse grid for race 2. We set a randomized cutoff for that invert, so the top 15 will fully invert, and those 16th on back will remain in their grid in their positions from the finish of race 1.
How very touring car. How very lovely. Ardelier then up to 8th position, then goes Ardelier, a 42.367. Inside the final minute. We'll have time to put one more lap down, running down the avenue and into the Cascades, looking to get things sorted. The question will be, who will be the last driver over the line to get a representative time on the board? That's going to be mightily vital, you would say, at this point in time, trying to find as much time as you possibly can, because this is the most important stage of racing out there. Getting that final lap in. We've got Fisher. Lars Fischer's just jumped up to 3rd fastest on a 41.862, so that puts him up into 3rd place. But with 20 seconds to go now, a lot of drivers are looking to try and get themselves into the right position. Drivers like Dan Skinner, for example, will cross the line with about 10 seconds to go. Robert Dendy's going to do well out there. There is Dan Skinner. He crosses the line, and he will get himself over. Dendy's over the line with 4 seconds, so Dendy will be the last driver over the line, which means Jameson Sampaio is going to be the first. But because it's heat racing, that's it. That's qualifying all done. And we can take ourselves to the grid then and see exactly how everyone stacks up. Jason Cooper then will be on pole position, a 141.477. We'll have Pablo Espes for company on the front row. Lars Fischer and Brandon Hawkin will line up on row 2 with Philip Matrevsky starting 5th and James Clark lining up in 6th position. Jameson Sampaio would start in 7th with Gabriel Ardelier in 8th place. Jackson Rosenda will go from 9th, and Enzo Sampaio, the second of the Sampaios, will round out the top 10. Following on from that in 11th would be Felipe Spetronev, who we saw his efforts earlier on. He's in 11th with Rodrigo Matsumuro in 12th place. Lee Martin and Simon Ball will hold row 7 of the grid respectively, with Dan Skinner and Shane Piggott rounding out row 8. Danny Yes Sir will start in 17th with Aaron Black 18th. Michael Chase and Robert Dendy will round out the top 20 with Darren Ellis the last time on the board starting in 21st. A number of drivers then will not set a qualifying time out there and as such will have to start from the back of the grid. John, 20 minutes. They say a race can't be won at the first corner, but this is one of the sort of tracks where you don't get much opportunities to overtake. You have to be choice when making a move.
Absolutely. They say you can't win in turn 1, but you can certainly lose it. The one advantage the drivers do have today is there is no off-track limit. They do not need to worry about dipping their tires on turn 1 or turn 2 exit. They can take it as long as they're safe racing each other. It's all about going flat out for the 20 minutes and getting the best spots possible. And it looks like the grid is just about formed up, so I'll hand it back over to you.
Well, now it's about a good launch, a standing start. Jason Cooper, who has been in and around the MX5 scene for a very long time, will be a very tricky customer to beat off of this line. Everyone knows that this is a long race. The likes of Pandisio and Breiser will not be able to get a time in. So they start from the back as the green flag drops, and we get ourselves underway for this season of 4. Immediately, Pablo Espes will look to make that move on the inside in towards the opening corner, but running a great line around the outside. Jason Cooper will hold position as they are single file for the majority as they go through. Dan Skinner maybe in the background a little slow. It's going to drop a couple places. They descend down the hill. Contact already in the middle. Looks like James Clark getting all shades of sideways. He got a hit from behind. He saves it, but behind on the cold tyres, it's Matsumuro who's gone off into the grass. So Matsumuro in trouble, but at the front, Espes immediately looking to hound as they go towards the Shell Oils corner for the first time, with the likes of Jason Cooper still leading and on the brakes behind. Fisher, Hawkin, Matreski, and Sampaio, your top 6.
A fairly clean start. We had that one issue with James Clark. Let's go back and see exactly what happened.
Looks like that's just the aftermath of it. So there were 2 issues that went through at the Cascades. There was what happened then with Clark, and there was a big turnaround in the background there. That would have been one of the TXC machines there. I'm not sure if it was Spectraniv. It was probably Spectraniv there who was turned around. So there is Clark going off, and then Matsumuro finding out that he doesn't have any grip in the cold tyres, and he finds himself in the grass early. So troubles in the early stages. Let's go back then to live pictures here with Ronin as we take a look forward near the front, or right now at the back of the field as they run up through Druids Corner, and the leaders now head their way towards that final section on track. There is the number 1, Gabriele Degli, who is on the back of this train, which stretches back to Enzo Sampaio out then at this moment, and a little bit of trouble out there. Your new race leader, Pablo Espes, has taken the race lead, making the move at Knickerbrook Corner, and it means now that the chase is very much on from what is a 9-car train here at the front.
Absolutely, and you can see it is a massive train that's formed. I hope everybody has their tickets ready to be punched, because Pablo Espes is going to set a rapid pace, no doubt. It's going to take a lot of work just to keep up, I think. And then the racecraft of positioning yourself. Where do you want to be? Where are your friends? So you see you've got the 2 teammates of Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer in P2 and P3 versus Pablo Espes, who seems to be on his own in this race, which may play a crucial role in the last couple laps of this sprint.
Yep, and driving around for Obsidian, one of the great Iberian teams, one of the longest lasting Iberian teams in sim racing now, trying to run up and figure out where to make a move. The 2 5-star cars just behind, trying to work out which way they're going to go. A fast, ferocious right at Knickerbrook awaits them. 150 kilometers an hour through that corner, back up the clay hill, and looking to try and make progress already in the early goings. There's a little bit of a look for a move behind as Jackson Rosenda tries to think of a move on Jameson Sampaio there in the 419, and the 2 Brazilians then thinking about which way they want to make the moves. No dice they go through. That is a camera angle as we take a look. I'm not sure they're going light speed just
not
yet.
Quite.
Little search to the inside, not quite indeed. A little search to the inside there from Lars Fischer. Might be getting slightly impatient, and just behind, defense turns to offense. Jameson Sampaio thinking on a move on Matrevsky.
Absolutely, he's all over his bumper as he goes into turn 1. Big lunge inside the Ronin car. leaves all the space. Oh, contact! Oh, the Ronin car has had contact with the blue 419. Big moment, and that looks to be terminal damage. That is not good.
No, that's what happens when you run out wide. You try and rejoin back onto the circuit, and Jameson Sampaio there didn't have to give him any room at all to come back on.
No, he didn't.
And ultimately, that's where the contact comes along, and Sampaio, I don't think is going to be at fault at all for that incident when that does get reviewed. So we'll keep an eye out as they go on and race. But at least at this point, John, you know, this is the first time they've really had a chance to race with each other. This is the first time they get to understand how they go, as we've just had a change to the race lead. Jason Cooper now has control.
Absolutely. It is a big factor with these races when you're so close. Having that trust, as we see, is another repass for the lead. Pablo Estes clearly wants to be in control. He wants to dominate the pace. He wants the clean air out in front, and trying to control the two teammates of Cooper and Fisher behind.
We've also got some great side-by-side further down with Dan Skinner and co, as the leaders now settle themselves out at the front of the field. 15 minutes soon to click over on the clock. But the run to Druids for Simon Ball, Shane Piggott and Dan Skinner looks to be a really interesting battle right now. You can see sliding off the exit. Piggott now with the inside on Skinner, and Piggott might just make the move here on the brakes into this penultimate corner, running through the lodge, down and then up the Dearly, and that's going to be move done. But now it opens up the door here, because Simon Ball is going to try and make that move to the inside then at the Old Hall corner. A very underratedly difficult first corner out there, such an inviting late apex through the corner, but using the AstroTurf on the outside, or effectively the grass clippings that's there. Dan Skinner able to just about hold on to place.
Absolutely, that was great racing. And again, we're seeing this all the way down the pack with 22 cars. It's close all the way. You see these groups of 4 or 5 cars that just can't seem to get away from each other. So the action just keeps on going.
The action does indeed fly. Ball again looking close, and they've brought 2 more into the party. Round will go Piggott, and that's troubles there for Shane. He has to get off the racing surface to avoid everybody else. He does manage that, and as they go through, that is a shame, but just how hard everyone is pushing out there at this point. Track temperature 34 degrees so as they go through. Let's take another look at it then, as they hit the brakes through the right, and he just gets a little bit scared, I think, of hitting the car in front, and as such, too much brake, and there's troubles. Let's go back to the race lead, though, because they're side by side at Druids all of a sudden, and Pablo Estes is defending absolutely fantastically. So that was the change for the race lead. Jason Cooper came through. We'll catch a look at it then back on the replay. In fact, no, we'll go back to live here, John, because they're still all lining up. Resenda now going to the outside, trying to figure a pass out on Brandon Hawkins.
Absolutely. It's still razor close. And again, 13 minutes left, so we're not quite halfway yet. The tires are starting to overheat for sure by now with the aggressive camber that all of these guys are running up at the front. See guys sliding wide. It's going to keep promoting another dynamic, which is tire management. Who has something left at the end of the race when you need that last little bit to make the move?
Yeah, there's 2 philosophies. You can drive well within the limits, or you can drive over the top of them, and a lot of the drivers here today have chosen to drive over the top of them at this point. Look at them all sliding as they go through the lakeside bend into Shell Oils. You can tell they want a car out there that's as loose as possible, so they can get as much feeling of being on the edge of grip and the feeling that they're throwing the car through every corner, John.
Absolutely. This car does give you that positive feel when you throw it around. It has a subtle weight to it, but you can use it. It's usable, particularly in the high-speed corners with a dab brake or using some throttle at different points to move the weight around to get the bounce that you want.
Absolutely, a change for the race lead as well, as we've been on board with Enzo Sampaio in 6th position, who's watching it start to get dicey in front, having to defend a little bit on the inside then. Is Brandon Hawkins trying to move up to 3rd, and we might be 3 wide off the exit. Bit of contact there with Jackson Resenda, who's almost got into the back and turned Brandon Hawkins. Hawkins, though, resolute up the inside. Resenda's going to follow through on Lars Fischer, and the 5-star car doesn't quite know what's hit him here. Boxed in on that inside. He might have to get the NASCAR tactics out here and start pushing. Rosenda has to give a little bit of room then into the opening corner. It's allowing the top two to break away and being very firm, pushing them out wide a little bit here. This is heads-up racing, and it might just go the wrong way as they descend down the hill, and there's the contact. Both of them running into trouble. Fischer just about seeing what's going on. Hawkin pushing out Rosenda, who drops 5 spots.
That was very defensive moves by the 24 going into turn 1 to keep the other car on the outside, which worked briefly, but in the end it seemed to have gone both ways into turn 2. It's a tough call. We'll have to see what the stewards think about that for post-race.
Yeah, we certainly will, but at least for the moment, Lars Fischer will now move back into 5th as Enzo Sampaio, who was 6th just a moment ago, is now 4th. The top 2 clear by 2 seconds, and now those two will surely race amongst themselves in the second half of this race, looking for the victory. Heavy defence over to the inside then from Brandon Hawkin, who realises, I'm not racing for a win anymore, I'm racing for 3rd at Knickerbrook. Most committed corner on the circuit as they absolutely fly too wide, trying to find a way to go forward. This is going to bring Fischer back into play. He's going to be on the outside here for the Druids corner. Such a difficult corner to set up for, and they do fall back into single file right now as they are absolutely pushing every limit they've got available to them.
And now 2.5 seconds separate the front 2 from this pack of 6 cars. So I would expect Pablo Espes just to push Cooper hard for the next 2 or 3 laps to keep building that gap so they can afford to race. They have more time to race for the race win with 2 laps remaining. They don't have to worry about anything coming up behind, because this battle here for 3rd is going to rage on more and more, no doubt about that. Hawkin is very aggressive with his defense. He wants to keep 3rd. He wants the clean air. But those behind are not, they don't seem to be complacent. They don't want to just ride there. They want to take it from him now.
Yeah, they certainly do. And they'll know that in this race, there's going to be some patience. Enzo Sampaio will know that as he looks to really get onto the back of Brandon Hawkin here on the brakes into the Shell Oils corner and not finding the move, but patience. This is where you get that benefit coming up and over the hill, is where that draft comes into play. They've clawed back a couple of tenths of a second, a bit of scrapping in the back of the pack then as Delyi and the recovering Jackson Rosenda look to go at it then as they crest up and over and then back down. Crucially, Sampaio choosing not to make the move then as they go in towards Knickerbrook behind that. Rosenda's going to hold around the outside, 4 tyres in the grass, and does pretty much everything there to hold the car in station. So nicely done. There's also some great battling further down. There's a great battle going on from 15th and 16th. There's Kevin Breiser and Rodrigo Matsumuro now look to race with Ryan Pandischio there behind. And let's not forget that Breiser and Pandischio both started without setting a qualifying lap time.
Yes, so we had Rodrigo had the issue on lap 1, so he's contact already. It looked like some netcode issues between him and the 25, but he was trying to recover from his issues on lap 1, and that certainly has cost him a few more seconds again. Very unfortunate for these 2 cars.
I think it's a bit early to say netcode, but I think the 2 of them came in together. I thought that was more Breiser turning in for the corner, expecting Matsumuro to be cleared, but wasn't at that point, and it has cost them top 15 invert out there at this point, which currently belongs to Pandischio by a good 1 second over Darren Ellis at this point. So we'll keep an eye on the top 15 as that gets itself close to completion. 7 minutes now left on the clock. The gap about 1.8 out there between second and third. So it is slowly closing at this point. No need for Pablo Espes to make a move. Hawkin is being given the absolute hurry up by Sampaio. And for the first time, this group's really started to gel and coordinate, and that's allowing them to close.
Yes, they have closed in about 0.6 of a second with 6.5 minutes on the clock. They just might be able to get there once Brandon Hawkin gets in the draft of Espes, which will kick in at about 1.2 seconds. he may have a shot at it. It is not over yet. As long as this group can agree to work together for just a little bit longer, the race for the win might still be on, but it doesn't seem to be happening as you see the battle behind with the 96.
Lars Fischer to the inside, he's gonna force his way through and make that pass happen. So Lars Fischer getting it done, all out there of just getting a really nice run up the clay hill. That was all it took to put the positioning at Druids, and then at the Old Hall, little search to the inside.
Whoa.
He's going to tag him. Round goes Lars Fischer, and Sampaio didn't want to give it up. Matrevsky takes a tap as well as trying to recover goes Sampaio. That puts Jackson Rosenda then through, but he gives a little tap then forward to Gabriel Adelyi, and all of a sudden that group goes through again. Sampaio apologizes. Hawkin now gone. 3 to chase then the top 3, with Espes and Cooper still working here with 5.5 minutes at the front, but Espes has stayed calm in the Obsidian car. He's decided he doesn't want to make a move. He's just happy to sit and wait.
Yes, let's try to get a replay of that incident in a moment. But now Brandon Hawkin is in the catbird seat. He's got 8 seconds of freedom behind, and he's only 1.4 seconds away from the top 2. So if they try to do anything with, you know, not on the last lap, I would say Brandon Hawkin still has a shot to win this race.
He does, and he'd absolutely love to start this season off with a victory. Adelyi in 4th position, still holding up the train. The TXC by TK Machinery there of Jackson Rosenda trying to work away to make a move. Not quite ready just yet to find the pass on Gabriel Adelyi. That much is very much clear, but right now there has been a change at the front. So Pablo Espes has taken the jump, has moved up into the race lead, getting the pass done at Knickerbrook Corner. So once again, there's been a change up at the front of this field, and once more, there's going to have to be some patience to it right now from Jason Cooper. Espes has looked great at the front, but Cooper's known that there is still time on side, and with 4.5 minutes when they cross the line, they know that they're going to have 3 laps to figure this out, and that gap now 1 second. Espes pushes a little wide off the exit of the Cascade. This might open a chance up here for Jason Cooper if he wants to go back to the race lead. Decides against it, lifts off of it before running through the left-hand bend that does surely follow. And now surely for Pablo Espes, it's not a race of 2 anymore, it's a race of 3.
Yes, it is. Now it's just 0.8 of a second as we look out behind. He turns on his windshield wipers, actually. That might increase downforce, reduce drag, I'm not sure. But he is trying all tactics because Brandon Hawkin is coming just 0.7 back with 3 minutes to go.
Might be an idea that rain's soon approaching when it comes to iRacing, but on the brakes once again as they go through heavy amounts of air over the curb on the inside from Pablo Espes as he tries to get the run up the clay hill once again towards that Druids corner. Hawkin is just watching this one happen in front, has done so well to claw that gap back. It was a couple seconds to chase and has managed that one pretty fantastically out there at this point in time. So is there going to be more to bring to light in the final stages? On the brakes then they go, and once more Jason Cooper needs to run down and then back up the hill if he wants to make that run at turn 1. This is going to be where question marks are going to start being made here with 2 laps to go. At what point you want to be the most aggressive driver out there?
Absolutely, and again, it's not just this top 3. We've got other battles going on in the pack. We've got James Clark versus Robert Dindy now. They're 12 seconds back on the lead, but they're still going hammer and tong, bumper to bumper with each other after 20 minutes of racing.
It's an important one for them. This determines who finishes inside the top 10, and right now 15th position is a hot topic as well because it's Felipe Spetraniv who holds that ahead of Danny Yesser and Rodrigo Matsumuro. So those two will be trying to chase that entire pack behind, sees the invert in front of them. I'll be certainly looking at it. Let's go back to the leaders though, because Jason Cooper sat there waiting then as they go up the hill, looking for the run then for the inside, and that one move over the crest that's going to give them the opportunity to leapfrog into the race lead. 1, 2, and 3 all together on the brakes through that right, wide there from Espes. He was too heavy over the curb. Cooper missed the apex entirely, so couldn't quite capitalize. Brandon Hawkin had a pretty good run, and he's going to try and push his way forward here. Might be a move here at Druids. Looking at the inside, not yet. Lap and a bit yet to go.
Yeah, again, just 90 seconds left on the clock, so this should be the white flag when they come up to the start-finish line. Just one lap to go. And again, Brandon Hawkin is right there. Now, I would expect this treaty that they've had for a little while, it's gone. It's full-on war for this next lap.
One lap then to decide it. Pablo Espes holding station at the front. Jason Cooper in second position in the 5-star car. And then Brandon Hawkin, who has been electrically quick, had to close back down the gap in the mid part of this race, and he has managed that fantastically. Moving on forward, hits the brakes once again as they go through the Cascades. Espes looking fantastic through this section, but how much can Jason Cooper use the draft to go through? How much is Hawkin willing to push his way forward? He might get a run here in towards the left. No chance for Jason Cooper. Had to get on the brakes then for fear of just catching the quarter panel of Pablo Espes. Through the right then of the Shell Oils corner, on camber banking as they now run out of that section and look to attack further up the hill. They will go that hilltop rise, which leads to Knickerbrook corner. This is the time where if you want to make a move, you're going to have to go for it. And Jason Cooper will. He'll go to the outside, try and get clearance. He's half a car length clear at this point, but he won't be clear at turn-in as they hit the brakes. Espes slightly later as he goes through. Is there enough room given between the two of them? Yes. Yes, there is. Just enough. Hawkins still looking, and he's going to make it 3 wide up the clay hill with 2 tyres in the grass. Has he found the magic then on the outside? This could be tears immediately. Hawkins on the inside. Espes through the middle. Still holds it 2 wide. Fantastic between them, but they've still got to navigate the lodge to finish off this lap. No room at the end for Jason Cooper to look for. He's boxed in. Brandon Hawkin to the inside from 2 seconds back. He might have the run. Left-hand kink up the deer run. It's going to give him a chance. It'll be 3 wide to the line in the season opener, and Pablo Espes will hold just
indeed. Half a tenth separating the top 3. 47 thousandths was the gap, was the margin of victory for Pablo Espes. What a win for him in the first race of the MX5 Super Sprint Championship. Well-deserved win there between the top 3, who raced with a lot of respect, I must say. It was very close with the 3 wide going into Druids, but they did make it work.
And there has been a change for the top 15. Danny Yes Sir has managed to take that away in the final 2 laps. There wasn't much more that could be done by Spetronir and Matsumuro, who are going through towards the line. There was an incident through the final corner as well, as Ryan Pandischio got into the back of Shane Piggott, who had been pretty much put from pillar to post as they've gone through. So Pablo Espes picks up the victory then in 20 minutes and 40 seconds and wins by a margin of 47 thousandths of a second, so 400ths, with Jason Cooper in third. Gabriel Adelyi would lead the second train home. He finished 4th with Philip Matreski 5th and Enzo Sampaio in 6th position. Just behind him on a race to the line, Jackson Rosenda couldn't quite beat him out there. Lars Fischer would finish 8th with Lee Martin 9th and James Clark rounding out then at the top 10, with Robert Dendy finishing 11th and Dan Skinner in 12th position. Aaron Black, Michael Chase, and Danny Yes Sir will have the pole position then for the feature, which is coming up right about now as they start to grid up for that. So they'll have that all to deal with. 16th position then on down then is as follows: Rodrigo Matsumuro, Felipe Spetronid, Kevin Breiser, Ryan Pandischio, Darren Ellis, Shane Piggott, Simon Bull, and Jameson Sampaio. Unable to find a finish, finds a retirement then in that opening race then outright. But drivers will get themselves gridded up. Another 20 minutes then to get themselves sorted, John. And that was crazy in that first race. And we got now an inverse grid, which is effectively like putting an accordion and saying, right, everyone together.
Absolutely. So Danny Yesser, who finished P15 in race 1 is now starting on pole, so he has, the whole world has now opened up in front of him. I bet his heart is beating at about 150 beats per minute. He must be pumped to take advantage of this opportunity, because he did have decent speed. He did have decent speed. Now he has the track position to capitalize on it.
Well, lights on here at Oulton Park. Let's get ready, because it's going to be another 20 minutes, and it is going to fly by on the reverse. Green flag in the air, and he gets a horrible start, does Danny. Yes, sir. Michael Chase gets a great launch. So too does Aaron Black, who moves over to the right-hand side. The insides they run now to the opening corner. But on the outside, Danny, yes, sir, takes a fantastic line and holds himself fantastically in position. He gets the launch that he wants. They go through side by side then for second and third, for fourth and fifth, because Dendy and Skinner, who look at it side by side, they run down the hill on those cold tyres. Yes, sir's gone around. Danny, yes, sir, in front of the field's gone around, and there's going to be more contact, and it's going to catch a lot of the drivers out from the first race. Lars Fisher's caught up in it. I believe Jason Cooper is caught up in it, as well as Pablo Espes. So there's huge dramas on the opening lap.
Yes, yeah, big chain reaction there from Yes Sir, who looks like he lost it in turn 2 on the cold tires. So then a very unfortunate chain reaction. We lost several cars out of that. That's very unfortunate that happened. But now we have, looks like we have Aaron Black, who has now taken the lead, and the 73 of Dan Skinner in tow right behind him.
And looking at drivers who have made great off at the start, Jackson Rosenda, Enzo Sampaio, Filip Matrevsky, those three are the big three who are going to capitalize out of this then as they run forward. They go through Knickerbrook and up the hill, and for Jackson, he'll have to go to the outside. It will turn to the inside at Druids on James Clark, who starts this one in 6th, showed that he had pace in the early race. Rosenda, brave up the inside. He is so committed with every pass. It is very Senna-like the way he drives. It's a case of, I will make the move or we will have an accident. It's that sort of driving.
Absolutely, very committed. Oh, looks like he overcooked it there. Drives in the grass. Looks like everyone still made it out somewhat unscathed.
Enzo Sampaio very nearly losing all of it, but a lot of drivers down in the pits. There are no fast repairs, so if you're out, you're out. That's the sort of racing it is. You don't get any free lives to get yourself back in again, but ultimately, still, they run down the avenue, now towards the Cascades, and it's blocked off for Gabriel Adelye while Robert Dendy was having absolutely none of it. Aaron Black, your leader, Dan Skinner second, Jackson Rosenda up 6 places on the opening lap. He finds himself in 3rd, Matrevsky 4th, and Sampaio in 5th position. Side by side, 6th and 7th, Dendy and Adelye then racing out for position off the road in front, and in trouble, and 2 off. Rosenda's in the wall, so too is Dan Skinner. 2nd and 3rd, both out.
Oh, looks like we just missed it there, but yeah, Rosenda is out. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. Because that's big implications already. He had the potential to win the race with that really fast start, making up several positions right off the bat.
Well, the key there was that it was Skinner who ended up making the mistake. Cold tyres in the opening 2 laps are the key. And basically, as he ran himself through, his back slid out and he had to try and gather it up. By the time he gathered it up on the outside, Jackson Rosenda was left with nowhere to go. And that's where the troubles found themselves. And that's why the race ends in that fashion. But for the race lead, here comes Filip Matrevsky, trying to go to the outside to make the move then on Aaron Black. And Black not giving this one up then as they run through the Deer Run for what is the 2nd time in this race. Just behind Enzo Sampaio, just going to be quiet then and wait for opportunity. On the brakes, they go into the opening corner. Give some credit to Aaron Black. He's still searching for it, but running over the grass on the outside. Matrevsky able to hold the position. Sampaio in 3rd, wants to move up to 2nd as soon as possible. Still another look to the inside. Matrevsky's not going to have this easy. No,
and again, fair play to Aaron Black. You know, he didn't have a good result in the first race, but with the reverse grid, he's showing he does belong here. He's saying I want to be up front. I'm here to win too, and he is trying to take advantage of this. Looks like he will still hold Pete. Oh, he just loses on the brakes.
Oh, he's going to catch Sampaio in the side, and then he's going to get a secondary hit from behind as well. And that from James Clark, and as he gathers it up, Clark now goes around. and a chain reaction, a horrible chain reaction as they went through. So here's what happened. Again, just a little bit too late, trying to get that turn in. That doesn't happen. And then trying to get the power back on. Clark's got nowhere to go. And then on in the grass, trying to gather it back up. Round then they go. And not ideal in the circumstances. Racing continues then here from Oulton Park. Matrevsky your leader, Sampaio in second, Adelyi in third, and Robert Dendy in fourth position outright. I tell you who's making great progress back through, was caught up in the early issues, was Brandon Hawkin. He's just made the pass on Shane Piggott and has moved himself up back into 8th position in this race. So did get caught up in the early stuff, but clearly the damage not enough there on that machine to keep going. May have actually got away with quite a bit of it then in the early goings, and as such able to run quite nicely in 8th place, and is still looking for a little bit more out there. The likes of Jameson Sampaio, who, get this, is up 18 spaces in this race so far through 3 laps.
Absolutely. 18 spots in 3 laps and just a second and a half off of the lead. Really good start for Enzo. The world has just opened up for him, and he still has a shot to win this race, but he does have to deal with the likes of Gabriel and Robert Dendy up front.
Well, it is a long way to reach those. That's about 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds to get there. So there's a bit of work to be done to make that happen. But at least for the moment, Jameson Sampaio watches on as just behind. That's Aaron Black making the pass on Shane Piggott. So Black recovering then moves up into 7th place with that pass. So that one's certainly playing out the way that they would have wanted it to. But down the hill then, the group 2nd, 3rd and 4th go. Enzo Sampaio, Gabriel Adelyi, Robert Dendy, all there, and all trying to give chase, at least for the time being, knowing that Matrevsky at 1.5 seconds has had that gap slashed on this lap down to 1.1. So 0.4 of a second gone. And right now, Robert Dendy, the only driver inside the top 7 who started inside the top 5. That's a huge defense all the way to the grass, going to tag as well. Adelyi was looking for the inside. Sampaio said no chance.
Yeah, very aggressive cut to the right, hard defense, and that means Enzo does retain P2 on this lap with 13 minutes to go. Gabe has a little look to the inside, but thinks better of it. Maybe trying to get the run down the hill into turn 2, but just not quite enough, I think. And that, again, this defense, anytime you race like that, it does give the leader a chance to stretch the margin. The gap now back up to 1.5 seconds.
It happened so quickly, and for Enzo Sampaio, he wants to be focusing forward. Sometimes when you've got a driver who is very, very quick, you want to let them through, but Adelyi, of course, teammate to Matrevsky, there's every reason to not let that move go as they hit the brakes once again, go into the Shell Oils corner, trying to run around the outside. Oh no, he's going to get turned. Enzo Sampaio's going to get turned, and he finds himself in the tyres, and you just knew with the way that they were racing together that trouble wasn't too far around the corner, and it turns out it was on apex exit.
Absolutely. Let's take another look at it and see what happens. Very tight. They're touching mirrors, and looks like maybe a bit of overlap there. Like you said, it was very hard racing. It almost seemed inevitable that they were going to touch.
Yeah, there was side by side. There was contact on the way in, and then Sampaio tries to open out the position, but then just runs out of time and just never had the car in the right position, really, to do anything of that ilk. So it does move drivers up more again, and it does mean now that the likes of Aaron Black, Shane Piggott, and on the back of Brandon Hawkin, they now move up into what is 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Lee Martin on the back as well. So Lee Martin having a great race right now. Started 7th, is still 7th.
Yes, big shakeup now, but big implications for everybody in the pack, including the race win now. That's promoted Robert Dendy to P2. Brandon Hawkins still P4, just 7 seconds off the lead, and only a couple seconds behind Dendy and Gabriel, so there is still room for him to improve. And as well, he's gained several spots despite this reverse grid. So well done to Brandon Hawkin of the 99.
Yeah, but Hawkin did catch himself with Jameson Sampaio. So Sampaio's that last lap through had an absolutely awful, torrid time of it. And Brandon Hawkin, it was through the Cascades a lap ago where the incident happened, and that's why he's up into 4th. And Jameson Sampaio is now back into 10th position. Believe it or not, on the lead lap, we are only down now to 12 runners. So this reverse grid race through the first half of this race has been absolutely brutal in terms of how it's put drivers together. Got a good race going on right now for what is going to be 8th position as Ryan Pandischio at this point, up over the hill, as I believe we're still on replay here at this point in time, is going to be now looking to try and deal with James Clark, but Clark pretty fine through Knickerbrook Corner, leaving Jameson Sampaio just behind to try and pick up the pieces and gain back some places he lost earlier on.
Yes, now we're halfway through this second race, 9 minutes 40 seconds on the clock, and we've got 12 cars on the lead lap. We have this close battle here for ninth with Pandischio as the 419 takes a look up the inside, a big lunge, nice block pass. Is he gonna make it stick? Just about. We'll see what they have to say going into turn 1.
Well, for Jameson Sampaio, that is a very successful move, and unable to really respond on the brakes there goes Pandischio, so he will settle for the lost position out there on circuit, at least for the time being. Race back on for second position as Adelyi and Dendy then go out about their business through the Shell Oils corner, and you can see just the streak of gravel that's there over that section of road. That's going to be making life so difficult on the grit as they fight through. And another little tap from Adelyi on the exit of the Shell Oils corner. He's starting to get a bit friendly with a few of these drivers, and Robert Dendy won't take too kindly to that in terms of the way that this race is trying to sort itself out. Dendy there in the blue has been doing very well. The second of the Ronin teams that's out there, of course, Adelyi at this point in the number 1 makes it Ronin 1, 2, 3 at this point in time.
Yeah, so it's Robert Dendy, who's not an active sim racer very much, but has been practicing hard all week, and it appears to be paying off, running the academy scheme for the Ronin car, holding back the pro of Gabriel Aderial, and it looks like he just might hold on with 8 minutes to go. Another look up the inside from Gabriel.
And there it goes. Straight down the inside. About as easy as a move as I've seen all day, and to say that was the easiest move of all day just shows you how close and how packed and how difficult it has been for everyone to make moves. Lee Martin, by the way, is under pressure behind in 6th position, because this is going to be Shane Piggott who's going to make the move down the inside, who's going to take the place away and is going to move up and make a great recovery on his race, and that then a pass that sorts out 6th place then for Shane. So a good pass from him, and it moves him up then 1 extra position, an important time for it. Now, it is also worth noting that Brandon Hawkin, that last lap by, did a 43.1, and he was half a second quicker than Gabriel Adelyi just in front. So second position is not out of the reach, and once again, with 7 minutes to go, that gap is about 2 seconds to the podium for Brandon Hawkin.
Yes, he can see the podium now in front of him. It's right there on the straight, and he's not far away from getting a tow off of Dendy. So as you said, a podium for Brandon Hawkin is not out of the question yet, and his car still seems to be in decent condition, and he's got the time to get there.
He does have the time, but he's got to find some really good lap times here, running through the Knickerbrook corner and then running up the hill. You know, they called it the Knickerbrook corner because, believe it or not, they found knickers in the brook there when they were building this track all the way back in the 1950s. But up the hill to the Druids corner now, and they'll just pass under the bridge, which is the entrance to the paddock of the racing circuit. If ever you go to Oulton Park, that's the way you enter, and then are making that run to this Lodge corner, the final section of track, the last big braking zone on circuit before descending down the hill and then making that all-important leap. Some of the super bikes that come around here actually get air over that leap, which makes such an important and vital corner when it comes to British motorsport. And Brandon Hawkin, that time by, was able to really push that gap down to a 42.5. And just seeing those two drivers in front there, John, run as wide as they did through the opening corner shows you how much Brandon Hawkin is putting those two in front in a bind.
Yes, he has the rabbit in front of him now, so he has all the motivation. Meanwhile, the cars up in front, it's like they have the Jaws music playing in their head, because you know they're driving flat out, and yet they see the gap getting smaller and smaller. Hawken is coming. He is on the move, as well as looks like Shane Piggott as well behind, who is trying to hound Lee Martin for P6.
Yeah, he's lost that place.
Just now,
Shane
yes.
Piggott, yeah, he has just fallen behind, and that move then was done coming out of Druids because Piggott lost the back end ever so slightly in the grass, had to save it, and then lost all his momentum, and as such, Lee Martin, who's been a lot more consistent, was able to find the overtake and make the move forward. So that's still playing in its mind for these positions, and they know they can't leave anything on the table in these final 5 minutes because there isn't going to be a third race. They're going to have to wait a week for that to come along at Mid-Ohio.
Absolutely, this is it, the final race of the day, the second of the 2 points paying sessions. And there's only 4 rounds to this championship, 8 total races with no drops currently. So every race does count for these drivers that want to score up in the top 5 or top 10 of the championship.
Here comes a run then for Shane Piggott, moving then to the inside as they run towards the opening corner. The Silver Machine looking to make the pass on the shades of blue that's on the outside. It's going to be for every stage of the way. He leaves the room on the outside. He'll have the inside here at Denton's corner here, this small flick right. But then here at the Cascades, he's on the wrong side of the big left-hander. He's going to need drive off the exit, but losing the back end slightly. Doesn't get a chance, and he has to be patient. Robert Dendy, by the way, has been caught by Brandon Hawken, and once again showing that raw pace is number 99, who's been driving at 100 all race long.
Absolutely. He's all over the back bumper of the Ronin car with a big draft down the back straight. Coming up now to Hilltop. Will he decide to make the move now, or will he wait another lap or two? No, he's going for it now.
Yeah, why not? He's got the inside line. He's got eyes on Adelie in second position. Can he get there under brakes? It's cut off. Great driving by Robert Dendy. Holds it. Big wiggle, though, over the grass, trying to put power on the exit. Don't have much power there, these rotary engines of these Global Mazda MX5s, but they are the sort of machinery where you've got to be driving at 100% to get what you can out of it. Still another look, a little correction over at Druids is now trying to get that power on for that final section of road. There'll be 2 laps to go when they cross the line, being led by Filip Matrevsky. But for the moment, Brandon Hawken, oh, he might get a chance there because that's another little dip into the grass from Robert Dendy. The small mistakes adding up, but I don't think Hawken's close enough here to Old Hall Corner to make this move. He gets right up underneath, but he doesn't have an angle to make the pass.
Not quite yet. Oh, another slip for Dendy and a big run for Hawken. Is he going to make the move now? It's really close. Really close now into turn 2.
He's on the wrong side of the road for it. He's going to have to leave that room if he slides out wide. And on the exit, just about covers. They switch over. They cross the beams as they now run towards this brilliant lakeside corner here. What is Cheshire in Little Budworth Tarporley. And now running a little bit too wide on the outside. Dendy finds grass and Hawken finds third. That's brilliant work. And surely now Brandon Hawken will be candidate to take championship leads they go through. Aaron Black, by the way, just behind, has had a bit of contact with Lee Martin and Shane Piggott. That a race for 5th place, and an important race for 5th place at that as well.
Yes, it is. Very important race for 5th. So with everything that's happened, let's regroup here with 90 seconds to go. You've got Matrevsky in first with a 5-second gap, Gabriel in second, and now it is Hawken that is just 2 seconds behind Gabriel, which is very impressive given the reverse grid and everything that's happened, but I don't think it's quite close enough for him to make anything of it with just a minute to go.
Well, just 1 minute to try and figure this all out, and I don't think Brandon Hawken's going to be close enough. Adelie doing enough at the moment behind, though. Aaron Black, Lee Martin and co having a good race. So too, by the way, is Jameson Sampaio and James Clark. Behind is Danny Yester, who's running 6 laps down at this point. Started in first. He is ironically back in 15th again, so if there was another transfer, he'd get there. But entering the final lap, Clark and Sampaio having a race, but as well as that, It's on for 5th position. Lee Martin trying to figure out a pass on Aaron Black. It's number 32. They're really close at this point as Clark still stays there. There is Lee Martin on the brakes, down the hill in towards the Cascades for the final time here in this one at Oulton Park. They will head stateside next week to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and now you've got to start thinking that attack didn't work from Lee Martin. Might be Shane Piggott's time to figure out this overtake. Has he got enough drive then to the Shell Oils corner? And the answer to that one is nearly not. But Adelye's just gone off. Adelye's just gone off, and Brandon Hawkins just taken 2nd place away. Adelye, with an unforced error on the exit of the Shell Oils corner, has just thrown 2nd place away and might have just thrown a podium away. There goes Robert Dendy. He's through. So here's a look from Brandon Hawkins. He just gets the curb, trying to put the power down. The back steps out, and all of a sudden, it's saved. But crucially, Hawkins and Dendy both go through. For Filip Matrevsky, though, as he rounds through Druid's corner and is going to make his run over towards the finish right now, he will head to that Lodge corner, knowing that that was a must to break away. And he's had the easiest race of anybody in this field the moment he got given a gap. Filip Matrevsky, mastermind of the reverse, takes the victory in race 2 here at Oulton Park. It will be Brandon Hawkins in 2nd, and Robert Dendy is going to take the final spot on the podium in the Ronin Academy car. It looks like there has been dramas in the back between Piggott and Martin. Both drivers are way down the order and have lost time. They both came together at Druids. That's why they're both back behind Jameson Sampaio and James Clark, who move up to 6th and 7th positions. But a race that's had pretty much everything you can think of here, John.
Yes, it was very, very chaotic start to the race with the reverse grid. A few guys were able to make it through despite starting way down in the order. But yeah, big chaotic race from start to finish, I must say. A lot happening, hard to keep up with for you and I.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get final confirmation of results. Filip Matrevsky, who wins by 6.5 seconds over Brandon Hawkins. Robert Dendy will take the podium in 3rd, because on the last lap, Gabriel Adelye a half spin cost him 2 places. Aaron Black would finish 5th with Jameson Sampaio. Great drive from him, 23rd all the way up into 6th position, the biggest mover of the day, with James Clark finishing 7th and Lee Martin in 8th. Lee Martin, of course, making contact with Shane Pigott on the last lap. That's why they're down to 8th and 9th. Lars Fischer was able to salvage a top 10 from it, with Ryan Pandischio, the last finisher on the lead lap, in 11th. Kevin Breiser would be a lap down in 12th. And there's a whole slew of retirements out there, which includes the likes of Jason Cooper, who was actually running many laps down, 5 laps down. So too was Danny Esser, who was running a full 6 laps down come the end. Enzo Sampaio retirement, so too Dan Skinner, Felipe Spetraniv, Jackson Rosenda, who showed he had great pace and overtaking prowess today. He was caught out with Rodrigo Matsumuro, Simon Bull, Michael Chase, Darren Ellis, Pablo Espes as well in trouble in the 23 car field there for that 2nd race. But John, the focus will be next time out. It will be Mid-Ohio at a track that's very similar in many respects to this circuit here at Oulton Park, but it has that American feel. And of course, you've got that almighty run going from the keyhole at turn 2 all the way down to China Beach at turn 4. That's probably going to be the place where we're seeing most of the moves happen 1 week from today.
Yep, yeah, China Beach is the most popular overtaking spot at Mid-Ohio. We do have a lot of similarities with the elevation change at Mid-Ohio versus here at Oulton Park. There is certainly a lot of it. The switchbacks, however, at Mid-Ohio will mean these drivers will have to maybe make some setup changes, because here at Oulton it's a lot of flowing corners that feed into the next, very swooping. There it's a lot of high rotation, slow speed corners, so they will need to regroup and come up with a plan for Mid-Ohio.
Well, the plan will be figured out in 1 week's time, and you can still catch it here with us and Ronin Simsport. Thank you so much for being along for the ride. From John Vining and myself, Jake Sperry, it's been a pleasure to bring you the Super Sprint Championship opener here from Oulton Park. It was a very much 2 very different races, both for Filip Matrevsky and, of course, the victory that ended up holding its station for Pablo Espes. those drivers will take big points going forward, but consistency really sells in this championship, and it was a struggle for a lot of drivers. Brandon Hawkin might have just got himself a championship lead to work with, but there's a long way to go just yet. We'll see you 1 week from today when we jump over to Mid-Ohio.